mentioned before, this session has to be very engaging. You need to know that I need to know that I'm carrying everybody along and we are all synchronized in our learning. So if I can have somebody, not some particular time around, but anybody, I saw a post online and me, if one of you can come up to raise your hand up or mute yourself and just give me a recap of what they learned from last week. I think that would be very nice. So please, we'll just have 2 to 3 minutes to just have that discussion. Anybody, I just need one person to just, one confident, bold person to just raise their hand up. I already flashed an expo here for you, so you could use this to um, train your line of thought or to guide your line of thought as you speak. Or if you can have one person just give a recap of what they learned last week. Do we have any hand raised?
No, sir, we don't.
Okay,
we have famous Soje. Yeah, you can mute your mic.
Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you too. So I'll first start with the first section, which is who is a data analyst. So what I wanted to learn last week was a data analyst is someone who gathers data, who cleans data, and studies it to find useful patterns and suggest answers to the general public. I think that's what a data analyst is all about. Then the data analyst is someone that, okay, you gave me something that was very, very easy to understand. You said a data analyst is Sherlock Holmes when it comes to data. What is this? Sherlock Holmes is by missing details about data and helps to make it meaningful. You say you have to be a statistician and you have to be a category, you have to be an artist in your own world, and to be a tech pro. Then key skills to be developed as a data analyst, we have soft skills such as communication, problem identification, problem solving, analytical thinking, data visualization, and ethical judgment. Just mention to then we also have technical skills as well. Technical skills like programming language, which ensures the use of the already made information, then presenting it in a visual format in order for your audience to understand it easier. Because most times people want to know if you're on the right track with what they want you to solve. Then you also mention about spreadsheets, and spreadsheet is what we are teaching today, which is Excel and Google Sheets. But we are making use of Excel today. So that's what I just learned last week.
Thank you very much, and that's an excellent recap of what we discussed yesterday. I think you really caught on some of the key things that I was trying to drive. So just to further buttress what, so I didn't get your name, please. If I could just get your name again.
My name is Famous Soji.
I didn't catch that, please.
Famous Soji.
Okay. Thank you very much, Famous. So yes, just to buttress what Famous had spoken about. Last week we talked about thinking like a data analyst. So again, beyond just the tools, how do you think? And that led us to first of all discussing who exactly is a data analyst. We spoke extensively on what makes a data analyst. We highlighted some of the key skills that is required for a data analyst. A lot of emphasis was put on the core soft skills you need to have. And one thing that I think is important to note is the ethical judgment when analyzing your data. Like I mentioned it last week, you need to tell the data story, not tell a story using the data, meaning that whatever you are doing is actually what the data is saying, not you trying to bend and force the data to meet your own bias, because people will say, I only believe in God. Every other person should bring data, but I can bring data and still use it to lie to you. So it's essential that we apply ethics when we are interpreting data, just so that we're not introducing any bias knowingly or unknowingly to our analysis, to our insights, because once decisions are made of biased information, it's very easy for things to go wrong. So we also discuss tools as a means, not an end. Still just doubling down on the idea that whatever technical skills you are pulling does not make you a data analyst. What makes you a data analyst is your ability to adopt this tool or apply these different tools and extensive skill sets to solving a problem, to helping your stakeholders make data-driven decisions, data-driven, taking data-driven actions. We looked at a overview of what we're expecting in the course last week, and then we discussed our activities. So, of course, this week we're also going to be having another activity. So, not to take too much time, we just glanced at the course overview again. So last week I mentioned that we're going to be having 5 classes, and the first class was an introduction class. And in today's class, we're now going into the first module, I would say, of the course, data analysis course. And we're going to be discussing introduction to Microsoft Excel and the data analytics process. In our subsequent classes, we're going to be talking about functions and formulas in Excel. We're talking about pivot tables and charts. We're also going to be discussing data visualization and dashboard creation. However, for today's class, like earlier mentioned, we are focusing on introducing you to Microsoft Excel, but not just that, also talking about the data analytics process. So in today's class, we're going to be first of all starting with introducing the team or the house to the data analytics process. What is the data analytics process? Is there a data analytics process? Does this process apply to all kind of data sets? We'll answer those kind of questions as we move forward. And then we're going to be introducing Microsoft Excel. I'm sure some of you already have used Excel in some time in your past, before now, for an assignment, for a job. Excel is numerous applications. But we're going to be introducing Microsoft Excel to you, discussing the interface, discussing the user interface, discussing, just bringing you some light introduction into what Microsoft Excel is about. And then specifically, still within theme of beyond just the tools, we're going to be looking at how Microsoft Excel is applied in the data analytics process. So how do these two things gel? How do they come together? We have Microsoft Excel on one hand, we have data analytics on the other hand. This is so how do a data analyst use Microsoft Excel in the data analytics process? We're going to be discussing that, and then I'm going to be reviewing a sample data set that we're going to be using during the course of this training, or this program that we have together. Last week I demoed a Power BI dashboard that I built with production data from a sample, or a fictional or conceptual field. Excuse me. So this today we're going to be looking into the actual data set that I used to build it, and our activity is going to be based off this data set. And based off this data set, and from there, we're going to be converting this data set to actual insights, converting into either dashboards or reports, depending on what you choose to do. But we'll discuss more into that as we proceed. And then finally, we'll go into the Q&A section. I hope you guys are looking forward to today's session. I hope I've been able to whet your appetite to considerably. So, the data analytics process. If you are new to it, you're probably wondering, what does he mean by data analytics process? Is there a process? I mean, I don't know if anybody has tried analyzing data. It can be overwhelming. Is there a process to actually? Is there a step-by-step process to actually analyze data? But data comes in different formats. You have quantitative data. You have qualitative data. Data from diverse industries, data pricing data, social media metrics, finance and sales data, even in the industry, oil and gas production data. You have your well conditioned data. That's about your wellhead pressure, your annulus pressure, your choke size, for example. These are different kind of data can I use the same principles to approach it? Even in your sales, talk about money, talk about net income, profits, revenue. What process can one single process be applicable to all these different data set and data formats? Oh yes, actually, the data analysis process includes five major steps, five major process, and this process they vary depending on the data set you are working on. However, the overarching fundamentals or the overarching concepts of these different five steps are similar and are a way of guiding your process. So, for example, you have a data set, fresh data set, and your stakeholder says, what is my data saying? It can become overwhelming. So what the analytics does is that it guides your process. Like, okay, there are five steps in this process. Step one, data wrangling. What is data wrangling? It could be called data wrangling, it can be called data mining, it can be called data collection, whatever way. But essentially, it is the process of pulling all the data you require for the problem you are trying to solve. So as a data analyst, you are not presented with the data. You're not always presented with the data. Sometimes you are presented with a problem. Sales have been reducing. We need to find out why sales have been reducing. So instantly you are thinking sales have been reducing. What data do I need to assess this situation? Obviously, you need the sales data itself. You might want to ask for data on if the supermarket that counts people that come into the supermarket. You want to get that data as well. You want to know how many people is coming to the supermarket. If it's an online, let me use an online website. If it's an online store, you want to know your online traffic. How many people are coming? What's the bounce rate? Where are people leaving the website? Do they go to the homepage, browse through, and then they leave? Is it that they didn't say anything they like, or is it that they go to the homepage, they find something they like, they try paying for it, and then they leave? They don't pay for it. Is that an issue with our payments infrastructure or the process for payment using our website form? You are thinking of, okay, my website data, I want to collect it. You're also thinking of, okay, my marketing. Let's say you've been running social media campaigns. You are thinking, okay, I want to check how effective my social media campaigns have been. All of this data you are all of this data you are pulling is just to solve one problem. Why is sales reducing? And that is what the data wrangling means. It's the process of identifying number one, assessing the problem you're trying to solve and identifying the required data that you would need to solve the problem. Sometimes it might be you might need to even run a survey. So, for example, you might include a survey into your website that, okay, anybody that comes in, leave your rating. I'm sure you've come into a website or you've used an app that have asked you to put your rating and rate this app. So it could come in any way, shape, or form. So that's the process. That's what data wrangling is about. We're going to go into more detail into what it's about. And then we also have data cleaning. Data cleaning is the process of maintaining integrity of your data sets. And then you have data transformation, data analysis, and data visualization. So I'll definitely go into more details on these different steps, but I want us to just keep this in mind, jot this down somewhere. The five major steps in the data analytics process is data wrangling, data cleaning, data transformation, data analysis, and data visualization. So coming fully into this process, I already touched on data wrangling, and I said that it's the process of acquiring relevant data from primary and secondary sources. Relevant means what is relevant to the problem you are trying to solve. Pulling in all the data. So number one, you are thinking critically. You are applying your analytical thinking soft skill, and they are thinking, what data do I need to solve this problem? Where do I get this problem from? So data sources can be broadly classified into two. You have your primary source and you have your secondary sources. Your primary sources are data that is generated within your organization, that is fully controlled by yourself. You have full control over its integrity, its consistency, its usage. It is an internal document to your organization, to your stakeholder. However, it is limited. It is just niche based on your organization. But secondary sources are external to your organization. So these are data that are outside of your control. Possibly it's being collected by a governing or regulatory body or an external source, for example, like Kaggle, for example, or any other like WHO websites as well. These are secondary sources of data. So let's say you are trying to check the effectiveness. Your online store is a drug facility. So you want to check, okay, how many people in Nigeria actually had malaria last year? Because I mean, before anybody come and buy your medicine or your malaria drug, they have to have caught the sickness. So you are comparing in 2022, there was a huge outbreak. That data is not in-house in your organization. That data is collected by external organization. So in those cases, this is what I refer to as secondary sources. And you can see how having that data might help make your data make more sense, because if you're having a very high spike in your sales last year and there's nothing internal that can explain it, but then you look at external data and you realize that last year there was an outbreak of malaria. A lot of people were coming down with malaria for some reason, which is why more people were buying this malaria drug from your online store. Were coming to you to buy it. So you see how you'll be able to tie your internal problem with an external issue. So these are differences between like primary sources and secondary sources. And as a data analyst, the first step of the process is identifying all these different type of data and then pulling them together, acquiring all the relevant data from primary and secondary sources. And then the next step is your data cleaning. Data cleaning involves converting this data you've acquired from its crude and dirty form to a clean and reliable format. A keyword is reliable. Most often than not, your data is going to have inconsistencies. Your data is going to have integrity issues, because particularly secondary data that is not being managed by organization. You are pulling it out from organization. Different organizations have different structures for or different integrity yardstick for their data. Some organizations apply a higher level of data governance, which means that they have a higher level of control over their data, which means a higher level of integrity or cleanness of the data. Some organizations do not apply that same sense of data governance. So it's very important that we are able to pull in data from multiple sources and we are able to convert it to a standardized, reliable format. So we are looking at inconsistencies like duplicate entries, blank cells, uh, uh, trailing and leading spaces, for example, text data that might skew, and because we see a lot of this happening. So we are looking at all this inconsistency and you're converting this dirty, crude format from its unreliable format to a format that you can rely on. Then after you are done cleaning the data set, the next key thing to do is your data transformation. Data transformation involves transforming the data by creating new variables from existing variable to improve analysis of the data. So for example, you have sales data, you know your revenue for that year, and you also know cost of operations for that year. How do you get your profit? Your profit is your revenue minus your cost of operation, your cost of operations. So by creating this new, if you look at just your revenue, you might think, oh, I'm making more money. But then you now look at your cost of operation and realize that you are spending more. By the time you take your plus and minus, you realize that your profit for last year is even way higher, even despite the fact that you made more money this year, but the profit last year was much more than what you have this year. You will not know that if you didn't create a new variable called profit that compares your revenue to your cost of operations. So data transformation is the process of creating these new variables that helps to give your data more meaning. For example, you have a date column or a date data. You've collected data sets for each day, but comparing day by day doesn't make a lot of sense. You might want to aggregate it by month. You might want to aggregate it by year. So you want to create a new variable called month from your dates variable, and that way you're able to compare dates. You're able to compare month by month, able to compare quarter by quarter, able to compare year by year, even week by week, as the case may be. So it's important that we're able to look at data set. Last week, I made mention to a variable that included water cut. For our engineers, we know that water cut is um, the water production divided by your total liquid production times 100. That gives you your water cut. Typically, you won't just click water cut value. Water cut is gotten from two variables: your water and your oil production from your data sets. So that way we created a new variable that we're able to judge our production. If you are an engineer, water is a very important metric that is used to assess the condition of a particular well that is producing. And then finally, we get to the juicy part, which is actually analyzing the data analysis. It involves the different process of extracting meaningful insight from your data. So this is where things start becoming very interesting. And a lot of people sometimes they skip the first three steps and then they just jump into analyzing any available data, and then they end up shooting off guard. But if you follow these first three key steps, by analysis, you start having very insightful results. Start pulling out value from this data set that is applicable to the problem again and not the symptom. So data analysis is the process. There are different methods of analyzing data. There are different analysis algorithms, or as case may be. If you're working on qualitative data, you can run a sentiment analysis. If you are working on financial quantitative data, you can use your regression model to run forecasting. If you are running a numerical data set, you might want to check for the measure of central tendency, the measure of variations, how varied is your data. If you are running a quantitative data, you might want to run analysis on the distribution of your numerical data. Do I have a normal distribution? Do I have an exponential distribution? Do I have a binomial distribution? It's a lot more statistical analysis on it. Pardon me. You have to run multiple statistics on it. So the comes in different shape depending on the data set you are working with. If you are working with you can also do a customer segmentation analysis where you're able to segment your customers to know your high profile customers, your mid profile, your low profile. This is another analysis algorithm, and it's also based off like the data sets, also based off the data set that's provided that you have to work with, and also on the problem you are trying to solve by extension. Give me a minute, please. Thank you.
Mention production data and qualitative data and quantitative data. So I'm not like asking like, is there a, like, will I say a cheat sheet now or something like that that we give us the specific method in which we can like analyze the data for, especially like the data now, for example, like is there a cheat sheet for that? Like once you have a production data, these are the steps you should carry in order to like be able to analyze the data properly, and if it's also a qualitative
Okay.
data, these are the steps
Yeah,
you need to take.
I
So
think I got your
that's my
question.
question.
I got your question. Yeah, thank you very much. So, no, in fact, something I advise against. There is no uh, one size fits all. You have production data for even the same field. Let's say it's different wells. Or let me generalize this more. For different wells, you cannot say you want to use this same analysis to work on the same data set. So in my discussion, I was making example was more so showing you how shapes and form. There isn't any fixed analogy or cheat sheet, as you call it, that can be applied to the same to different data sets. Your analytical process should be tailored to number one, the problem you are trying to solve. Number two, the insight you're trying to pull out from. And number three, like what data is saying. So we are not going to the data sets with a preconceived game plan. You are going to data sets completely just in a sense that just looking into data sets, playing around with it, and trying to figure out, pull out value from it. So the only process that can be applied in that process is the data analytics process, which is data wrangling, cleaning, transformation, analysis. But beyond that, the analysis you are carrying out, what you are doing is tailored specifically to that kind of data, what the data is saying. So if you are seeing that your data is following a particular trend, you want to now say clean or mining or collection or whatever you want to call it, data cleaning, data transformation. I think I have a question. Since you're not asking me a question, I want somebody to explain in their own thoughts what the data transformation mean. If nobody raises their hand up, I'm going to come to the chat to the meeting and pick somebody, call a name. So I need somebody that I've not spoken before to raise their hand up and explain to me data transformation and why they think data transformation is important to your analysis. Let me come back to the chat. I can hear you, yes.
Right. Okay, so from my own understanding, data transformation is important for us to it's for easy deciphering and understanding of data. Like in order for us to understand what's happening in data structure, or what's happening in the business that leads to data structure, we need to analyze it. Like we need
Sorry,
to
Bill,
like
I can't really hear your word. Don't know if you can speak a bit louder.
okay. I said data transformation is important.
Can you
In
hear me,
order,
please?
can you?
Yes, but can you speak a bit louder, please? Thank you. Don't know if it's a microphone issue, but I can't really
Okay.
pick up your words.
I said data transformation is important for um for the sake of like understanding the message the data is trying to pass across. Like it isn't convenient for us to in order for us to easily decipher or to understand the um whatever is happening to that data, or whatever leads to the formation of that data, or whatever leads to the pattern in which the data forms, we need to transform it. Like we need to turn it, we need to restructure and like we need to do a lot of work on it, which is what transformation entails. Okay.
I'm not able to fully hear you, but I don't know if you could just please leave a message on the chat, but I'll be reading across it. I see the other hand is raised by IK, so I think you can go ahead, please.
All right. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
My own understanding of what data transformation is like about cleaning the raw data in a way that it can be ready for analysis. So I feel when you are transforming a data, you are like trying to make reduce. Probably you have a data, you have cleaned the data, you're trying to make it ready for analysis, reduce all the error, those things that are not wanted in the data, remove everything. So I feel that process is what we call data transformation.
But that's data cleaning. So you see that you are calling data transformation data cleaning. But again, I'll circle back to that again. Let's take Samuel's hand. Samuel, we
All
can
right.
take give me understanding of data transformation and why you think it's important.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, so I believe that data transformation is like getting your data ready for its close up, like preparing your data for use, basically. So it's crucial in data analysis because it helps turn raw data into a format that's usable and makes sense for analysis. So data transformation basically involves processes like cleaning, restructuring, data formatting, just so that that data can be used to extract meaningful insight. So yeah, that's why I do data transformation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel, for your contribution. And I think we're having this ongoing theme of merging data cleaning, data transformation. It's a bloodline, I understand, but I think the discussion here is understanding the difference between these different processes. So I will go into details more. There was another hand raised. I see it's a bit down now. So I'm looking at the chat. I'm seeing data. Okay, Aminat, yes, you can go ahead. What is your understanding of data transformation, and why do you think it's important?
Okay, so data transformation to me is we are converting raw data into another format, into another data format, in the sense that when we carry out this thing, it's not necessarily like data cleaning, but we're just trying to change it to a different format. Maybe like for example, we are converting from one data type to another, maybe from text to number, or you are formatting maybe the date to a more standard format, something like that. But in all in all, data transformation is the conversion of data type, sorry, data raw data to a different format, and it is important because it makes data more usable, more readable, and even more insightful. You can be able to check the trends among values. You can be able to read the data and gain more, draw insights from it. That's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much, Aminat and Samuel and IK and Bello and every other person that made contribution. I really appreciate that all this engagement and also sharing your understanding. We also have Mercy and Ijoma and Bello. They have left and yeah, they have left their messages on the group chat regarding what they understand. So, but I would say that a lot of what you've described is data cleaning. There's a difference or a dichotomy between data cleaning, converting from data types to another data type, maybe text to string, that is cleaning your data. Converting different metrics such as mean, median, deviation, that's even analysis, that's not data processing the cleaning. Data transformation is I don't know if there are data scientists here or people that have tried to look into data sciences, but what analysts call data transformation is what a scientist will call feature engineering. So you are creating a new variable from an existing variable in order to generate more insight or more value from your data set. And I gave the example of water cut. Water cut is derived from two values. When you are collecting data from your wells, there is no metric called water cut that you are collecting, but you are measuring your water production, you are measuring your oil production, and from these two variables, you are able to derive your water cut. A water cut is a metric that is used to assess the performance of your well. If you're having a high water cut, by application, that means that gives more context to your water production. So let's say you have a well, your well is producing 10,000 barrels of water per day, but it is producing 90,000 barrels of oil per day. And then you now have another well that's producing um, 5,000 barrels of water, but it's producing 2,000 barrels of oil per day. If you look at just water production, would you think that the second well is better than the first well? Because I mean, it's producing 5,000 barrels of water, while the other one is producing 10,000 barrels of water. You might think, oh, this one is producing more water. When you now compare it to the oil production, you realize that this other well is producing 90,000 barrels of oil per day. So water cut gives more context to your water production. So that when you're running your insight, you're able to say, okay, I my water cuts, but that is you're able to assess the actual performance of your well more accurately beyond just looking at just the water production. Because if you look at just water production, you can go and tell your boss that go and shut down or close down shutting the well that's producing 10,000 barrels of water, and then let us go and do intervention in our carry out intervention in the 5,000 to see how we can even further improve it. One site. If we now bring in our oil production, we're not able to compare it, and then the water culture, we're able to now assess the true performance of these different wells. Now, mixing wells and oil, so you're able to vibe more to it and vibe more based on your petroleum engineers. So the process of creating that water cut variable, you are transforming your data, you are converting it from itself the way it is, and then you are adding onto it, creating new variables to further augment the insight that you derive from it. I also brought the example of your profit and revenue. You might look at your profit and your revenue and be like, oh, I made more money last year. However, your cost of operations last year was even higher. So if you are comparing by just revenue, you might go and tell your boss that yes, we are doing very well. The company is doing, we are making money. Cost of operations is also going up. And what that means by virtue is that, let's say your company now say, okay, because we're making more money, let us increase everybody's salary by 100%. And then after the salary is finished, they realize that there's no money in the company's account anymore. The company shut down, all because you looked at revenue instead of profits. So the process of creating the profit variable from your revenue and cost of operations columns, that is that transformation. And you're able to now pull out more augmented insights that have more context rather than just doing averages. And so that's what data transformation is about. It's not about converting types. That's data cleaning. It's not about mean, median, and that's your analysis process. It's about looking for inconsistencies. That's the data cleaning. Data transformation is what a scientist would call feature engineering, and you are transforming your data, moving it from its way it is, and then creating variables that gives you your insights, more context, more practicalities. I hope I've been able to give more through this the analogy of the water cuts. That is something that you should be able to relate to a lot. So that's what data transformation is. You are looking at your data set and then pulling out more variables that are able to so that your insights is actually augmented beyond just what your data is saying. So I really hope that we've had this understanding of our data transformation. So another a question, what part does this particular so let's say you're an analyst and someone tells you to go and bring in, someone tells you that our sales is reducing. So and then you now go and say, you now go and ask the regulatory body that, okay, I want to know what has been the general sales of this product for all companies. Is it just my own company that is experiencing? I mean, there is a reduction, there is a inflation. Less people are able to afford some things. So you want to know, is it just my company that is it just my company that is experiencing this reduction in sales, or is it a general thing because of inflation? That process of going out to go and seek for data, what is that called? I see Foley hand is raised. Do you want to answer my question, or do you have a question of your own?
So I want to answer your question.
Go ahead, please.
Data wrangling.
That's excellent. So stay on the mic, please. Is that primary study source?
That's a secondary source.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Do we have any contrary thoughts or anybody want to add on to what Israel has said? Okay, so I see no hand raised. So I have one more question. Since you guys don't ask me a question, I will ask my own question. Let's see. So last week I mentioned that a part of analysis is being able to communicate your insights. I'll get your question up, Michael. Being able to communicate your insights in such a way that you're able to derive, you are able to inspire your stakeholders to drive action. In what aspect of data analytics process does communicating on insight fall into? Okweme, do you want to answer the question, or do you have your question? Do you have a question of your own?
I basically just need clarity on that data transformation. So
Okay, let me just
from what you said,
let's hold on that. Let's just answer this question, then we'll just come back to you, so we don't lose track of the question. So I think Ija is raised as well. Ija, you've answered one question already. Let's get one more person to answer. We are 31 in the class today. Can somebody else answer? I'll call names if somebody answers. Let me look at the chat. Okay. Let's do Messi. I know Messi is active. Messi answer the question on the chat, but let's get her to speak. Hi, Messi, if you can speak, can you answer that question, please? You are close. You are very close. It is in that line, but that's not the term that was used in the discussion today. Don't know if you want to try again. Can try one more time, or we can move to somebody else. Or you are very close. Oh, we have somebody already coming to answer. So thank you very much, Ayotunde Emmanuel, for answering that. That comes in the data visualization aspect of the process, because that is where we are able to present our data in a way that is consumable. So easily, last week we spoke about being an artist as a data analyst. You are able to present your analysis in a way that is insightful and intuitive. So it comes into data visualization. So thank you very much for participating, guys. Michael, you can go ahead with your question, please.
all right, so I just needed clarity on that data transformation. So basically, you're saying
Data transformation, is that what you said?
Yes. Basically, you're saying we extracting variables from our raw data is data transformation.
Yes. So the process of creating new variables from existing variables, that is called data transformation. Right. Yes.
So does it essentially mean relevant to our insights, or any variables we're extracting from our raw data?
If you are creating any new variable, I mean, you have to be creating for a reason, right? I mean, you don't just want to intentionally extend your data. There has to be a reason why you're creating it. So, and that reason should be that you believe that it will help inform your insights. So, I don't know if that answers the question, Michael.
Yeah.
Right, that's great. That's great. So, just one last time, just because I really want us to understand the data analytics process, because everything that we are doing as a data analyst really falls within these 5 key steps. So again, if there's something not really clear on, or you don't really understand on the 5 key steps, data of collecting data, and not just random data that is relevant to the problem you're trying to solve. Data cleaning is not transforming, or maybe not that word. Data cleaning is converting. Converting. Data cleaning is not a process where you align your acquired data sets to a certain level of integrity, so certain level of consistency. So you are looking for inconsistencies, looking for dirtiness. Don't know how else to describe that, and then cleaning it, making it more consistent, improving the integrity of your data such that you have consistency and you're able to rely on the information. So let's say, for example, you're having duplicate entries in your data set. And then you now look at your monthly production and realized that in January you had a very, very, very high production, and then in February you have very, very low. If you just go and start analyzing, if you start analyzing your data that way, you realize that you can't be thinking like, oh, what happened? How come production reduced between January and February? Meanwhile, in January, you had duplicate entries. Maybe you have production from the same day appearing multiple times. Probably it was a glitch in your sensors, a glitch in whoever was collecting the data in the first place. Let's say multiple people was assigned to collect data for that day, and they both collected the data and they both entered into the data sets. But because you didn't clean the data set, you go and start running analysis and nobody send it to run. Because you are under the idea that you had a very, very high production in general. Meanwhile, that production is based off duplicate entries. So the process of ensuring that you're able to meet a high fidelity, you're able to convert whatever data you have into a high fidelity data, that is cleaning. So wrangling is collecting, wrangling is identifying and collecting the data sets. Cleaning is standard. Cleaning is. I don't know if that answers your question, Ibuko.
Yes, sir, it does, sir. Thank you much, sir.
Does that answer your question? I'm not able to. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Thank you very much, Ibuko. Okay, so now we're going to Microsoft Excel. We won't spend too much time here because I believe that we are familiar with the tool itself. So Excel, of course, Excel is a spreadsheet package that can be used to store, sort, and manipulate data sets. Someone asked the question that what do we use to clean data set? I still have that question in mind. Don't worry, we'll go into it. So Excel is a spreadsheet package. What's a spreadsheet package? A spreadsheet package is a software that allows you to analyze or to display and review relational database based on relational data set, meaning rows and column tables. So that's what a spreadsheet package is. You are able to analyze sheets of data that comes in the format of rows and columns. And also it has an extensive application in diverse industry. Literally, I mentioned last week that someone had asked the question last week that, oh, how do you, which tool is most important for you to learn? And I said that it all depends on the use case scenario. However, spreadsheet packages is a non-negotiable for data analyst because it's the fundamental, the building block of your job as data analyst. You have to know Excel. And that's why we're using this tool as our application, as what we are going to be using to be learning how to be data analyst because it is fundamental. And the reason why it's important is because it is applicable in diverse industries. Your finance space, your sales space, your marketing, whatever space, you would always have data set, and Excel would also always be applicable in these different industries. I mean, even you're in as petroleum engineers, I don't know if how familiar you guys are with DCA. You use people in the industry, people use Excel to carry out decline curve analysis, and now we're able to forecast the production. I'm not a petroleum engineer, I'm a geophysicist myself, so I don't have full insight into it, but it's something that I'm recently learning about. And it's very interesting. From your data set, you're able to pull out I think there are different kinds of decline curve analysis, exponential, harmonic, hyperbolic, and then you're able to display this data set using Excel. And then you can now look at the formulas, and from there, able to now pull out like your decline rates. If I remember that one from the formula you generate using Excel, and that's what's related to petroleum engineering in itself. In other aspects too, it's really diverse entry. So it have extensive applications in diverse industry. And also, it can be applied in the data analysis process, particularly in data cleaning, data transformation, data analytics, and data visualization. So the person that asked me which tool can they use to clean their data, number one, Excel. You can use Python, you can use R, you can use SQL. These are all different tools that can use to clean data sets. But for now, we're looking at Excel, and Excel can be used to clean your data sets. If you look at here now, who can tell me which of the process can Excel not be applied to? I need somebody hands raised, please. which of the process can Excel not be applied to? You
Okay,
cannot
Samuel,
use
you
the
can
hand
unmute your
raised.
mic. Samuel, you can unmute your mic.
Okay, data wrangling.
Thank you very much. So yes, data wrangling is the only step in the process that Excel cannot be directly involved in. Samuel, can you tell me why that is the case? Samuel, can you hear me, please? Can you tell me what that is? You can unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, I can hear. The reason why I feel Excel cannot be used for data wrangling, my personal opinion is because Excel is mainly used for analyzing data basically. And when you talk of data wrangling, to me it's more of like you're trying to like how do I put it? Rearrange or just compose that raw data set that you have. And Excel basically works in a way such that it helps to clean data and not necessarily involved in the wrangling aspect of it. I don't know, that's just the data aspect.
Thank you very much, Samuel, for your contribution. Thank you very much. So I'm not going to go back to this page, and I'm going to share this, but I want us to screenshot this, keep it on our phone. Just give you like a minute to do so. Screenshot this, put it on our phone, because I want us to really take home and digest each of these processes and what they entail. So I'll just give you until now to do so. So I believe everybody has done this, so just move on. So when I explained data wrangling, I mentioned is the process of identifying and collecting the data sets that you would need for your analysis. Excel cannot be directly used to collect. You can enter data into Excel, but it's not directly applicable to collecting it, or identifying it. It is more of a human process, data wrangling. You have to think through it, using your problem solving, analytical thinking skills that you need to develop as a software data analyst. You think through it, you understand the problem, and then you identify the issue, and then you go and using whatever methods you can use, collect the data sets. So that is the reason why Excel cannot be directly applicable to data wrangling, because Excel comes into actually after you go to the data set, progressing beyond it. So a question: who can tell me a tool that can be used in data wrangling? Giving up this explanation, who can explain a tool that can be used in data wrangling? So take collecting data. You also have your tabs. So in Excel, you have your file, home, insert, page layout, formulas, data, review, and view. Everything that comes below your quick access to is what is referred to as tabs. And each of these tabs have their own ribbons. So in your home tab, this is the ribbon for the home tab. Once you click on it, you have different options. You can edit the fonts, size, color, outline, font alignment, all of these things. I'm not going to go into details of all of these things, but whenever you're on Excel and you see this, and someone asks you, what is this thing called? They are referred to is called ribbon. So you have your quick access tools, you have tabs, you have ribbons. Then you have your name box. Your name box is just, it displays the name of the current cell or current cells that is being highlighted on Excel. So if you look here, the cell currently is on column A, row 1. So the name of this cell mixes the column and the row. And that's why we have A1. If you come to this place here, we are in column G, row 10. That would mean that we are in cell G10. So not to spend too much time on this, you just have it. Don't think I'll take too much time on this. So if you come here, for example, we are in column A, row 10. If we click on this, we are referencing cell A20. I want you guys to hold on to the idea of referencing. When we go into X, I'm going to show you more into this idea. In our subsequent class, we'll discuss cell referencing. And then finally, we have the formula bar. So this is whenever you are typing anything inside here, we see it here. I'll probably go into more this when we move into Excel. But just to get you accustomed to the nomenclatures that are associated with Excel's interface, this is referred to as the formula bar. And finally, this is what is now the spreadsheet, where you have your rows and columns. This is where you play on Excel. This is your playground, your chromium, your rows. A lot of this happens there. It's the front space of Excel. So, hold on, please. I think the process of transferring this into we have the general, number, currencies, accounting, date, time, percentage, fraction, scientific text, special, and then custom. Excuse me. So in Excel, and somebody mentioned it, that's what they think data transformation is. However, that's data cleaning in itself. So essentially, there are several data types in Excel, and these data types are assigned to a cell or a range of cells, meaning that you can assign a specific data type to cell A1, or cell A1 down to cell A10, or cell A1 down to cell E10. So you can assign each cell a unique data type. And then this data type that we assign to Excel affects how the data is displayed and the kind of operations that can be carried out with that cell or range of cells. So for example, if I write 2 in this place and I format it as a number, and I write 2 here as a number, and I say this plus this, because they are both being formatted as numbers, they will give me 4. However, if I write this as a text, 2 as a text, and then 2 as a, and I try to add these 2 of them, you're going to throw an error. It will throw an error. It will do something else. And Excel calls that concatenating. So instead of saying 2 plus 2 is equals to 4, it interprets that plus as a concatenation, and then it's combined, and then you now see 22. So I don't know if you've heard this saying that, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 1 is 11, or 2 plus 2 is 4, 2 plus 2 is 22. If your cell is formatted as a text, your 2 plus 2 will be 22. If it's formatted as a number, 2 plus 2 is equals to 4. So you see why it's important that you're able to know the format of your Excel sheets, the data type format of Excel sheets. So that when you are running, for example, running averages or running sums, your sum is being run accurately and there's no space for error. So just to recap, there are several data types in Excel. These data types can be assigned to a cell or to a range of cells. And then by assigning these data types to a cell, you are able to affect how that data is displayed and also the kind of operation that can be carried out with the cell. And just a side note here, the default data type in Excel is general, meaning that anything goes. It has its pros, it has its cons. But just move on from this, so don't take too much time on this. And then when we get into Excel, we're able to dive more into it. So like I mentioned before now, Excel can be applied in the data cleaning, data transformation, data analysis, and data visualization segment of the data analytics process, or let's call it the DAP. It's a mouthful to be saying all of that. So the DAP, Excel can be applied in these 4 key things. And what are the features in Excel that allows it to be applicable in this regard? Number 1, your sorting and filtering operations, your duplicate entry identification and removal through conditional formatting, your functions and formulas, your pivot table, pivot charts, slicers, These and more are some of the reasons why we can apply Excel to these four um, steps in the DAP. So sorting and filtering duplicate entries, functions, formulas, pivot tables, pivot charts. And during the course of this program, we're going to be sampling how these different things work. Right? So now we've reached the segment where we naturally move to Excel. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And this because I'm not using my other laptop, I'm not going to be able to use Excel. I'm going to be using WPS Office. It's very similar to it is Excel, just a free version of Excel itself. So it might not look exactly the way your own Excel would look like. This was not the laptop I originally wanted to use for the discussion. But prior to the class, I still having some issues with that laptop. So just move over to this is a column. This is a column. Let me show you one way that I try to. Not that I need to go to that way. This is a column. This is a row. Column, row. So by combining these things, Excel is able to assign unique identifiers to each cell. So just to demo that with you again, if you come here, because I'm in column B, cell 31, I arrive at B31 here. But what happens if I do this? Can you see that it is showing 9 out? Oh, this is not Excel. Sorry, I won't be able to show this. TC. So it's counting rows and column instead of the identifier. That's I might not be able to demo that. But please play around with Excel to get familiar with your quick access toolbar, your tabs, and your ribbons. And then if you look at here, this is what we call the formula bar. So this displays the content of each cell. So in cell G2, this is showing G2 is equals to, and then the content of the cell is production. But if I come here and I say, I want to type a formula, I say equals to, don't worry about this. Let me use, don't worry about what I'm trying to do here. Left this, comma, 4. Yeah. So if you look at the Excel now, it's displaying, look at what it's displaying. But this is not the content of what this cell is. This is the contents. This is the actual content of the cell. Left C13 4, which is a function, or is a function that I've put here. But however, it is being displayed here because of the function. So in the formula bar, it displays the content, the true content of your cell, your Excel cell. Don't know if that's understood. When we go into functional formulas, probably we get more context into that. But I want us to just be introduced to this different concept of number one, cell referencing, page 13, formula bar displaying the content of a the content of a content of the cell, and also get familiar with the different tabs and ribbons. So that's also an assignment for us. And let me just add that to uh, so let me know, are there any questions before I proceed on what I explained on number one, cell referencing, explained on the ribbons, general interface of what Excel looks like? You can take those questions now.
Not about the Microsoft Excel interface you spoke on. I have a question concerning data wrangling. So, like, it's something that I've observed that I don't know whether that data wrangling is not still part of a data analysis work, but like most data analysts don't really like go into data wrangling. And since you said that you're familiar with data wrangling, I mean you've used some tools for data wrangling. I wanted to like ask if it's something that we could also put into the curriculum for this class. Yeah, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I think um that can be done, but I think that might fall a bit out of scope for what we're hoping to look at here because data scraping, you can't do that with Excel. I mean, you can't do it with Excel, I think. I'm not so sure you can. You can't actually. That would be programming language. That's Python. So I think that might come in learning about Python and the rest. But I think that even falls a bit out of scope for that class as well. So you could use forms itself. So I think I might add that as an assignment. But typically, I, I will circle back to that next class to see how we can have an activity that would involve you collecting data in any way, shape, or form. So probably in our next class, we'll just discuss more on that and see how possible it will be to get an assignment where you are able to get a problem and then your assignment will be to identify the kind of data you would need to solve that problem. I think that's what we can do. So by next class, it will be part of our activities for next class. Uh, hold on, please. The review. Mm, 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 standing. Standing. So I'm making some last minute edits to the slides or activities for tomorrow. Process and the formula bar. Okay, great, good. So let me just share my screen. So are there any other further questions regarding what has been uh, shared regarding Excel interface? Ask me questions, please. When I ask my questions, people are ready for me. Uh, okay, so I see that there are no hand raised. We just move forward ahead. So that would bring us to the end of the class for today. So in today's class, we discussed introduction to Microsoft Excel and the data analytics process. In our next class for some, not sure how this will happen, but I'm going to see how this will happen. Because it's extensive. We want to cover a lot of functions. We want to know what formula is. So it might be, I want us to come prepared that it might be coming into fully into Excel. So please prepare ahead of the class for next week. Again, we are talking about functions and formulas in Excel. So yes, that really brings us to the end of the discussions for today. We'll be here together for about 1 hour, 30 minutes. And of course, like I've always mentioned, our class is going to be an interactive one. It's going to be an engaging one. It's going to be one where we always have assignments. Last week, our assignment was to post about what we had learned on LinkedIn or any platform. I think only like 5 people or 6 or 7 people did so. And we are almost 30 in the class for today. That's a very, very poor percentage of amount of people. Again, we are learning in public. We are holding our learnings accountable in public. And we are documenting our journey as we develop ourselves. And also helping people follow through in our journey and also being your profile. There are so many benefits of learning publicly. So for this week, we have 3 activities before we circle back to this. Number one, we've shared that data set with you guys. The one that I demoed to you today on the production data. I want you to research all the column headers. So let me stop sharing and then flashing the identifier, the wellbore code, the wellbore code, the wellbore number, the wellbore name, the flow kind, the well type, downhole pressure, downhole temperature, average tubing pressure, annulus pressure, average wellhead pressure, choke size, oil production, gas production, water production. So your first assignment is to go into this data set, understand the data set. And what I mean by understanding it, and I want you guys to document your process. Like the first thing, each activity is going to build up on each other. Going to build up on each other. For this activity, we want to understand our data sets. For some of you in the petroleum engineering, this might be a bit easy for you, but for some of us that are not in petroleum engineering, you might need to do some actual research. So beyond just knowing the definition of these different things, we also want to know the implication. What will happen if you're having a high downhole pressure? What will happen if the downhole pressure is low? What will happen if the downhole temperature is up, is high, downhole temperature is low? What will happen if the average tubing pressure is low? What are the relationships? So if your downhole pressure is high, are we expecting our downhole temperature to be low? Or are we expecting it to be high? If our downhole pressure is high, are we expecting our annulus pressure to be high or low? So our research is going beyond just um, understanding the definitions, but also understanding the implications of these different metrics. For example, now your choke size. Your choke size is used to uh, guide your production, or is used to regulate. That's what I'm looking for. Regulate your production. So if you have a high choke size, you should be expecting high production and high pressure. But if you have a low choke size, you should be expecting, I think, low production because your production space is becoming smaller. So beyond just understanding the definition, we are also looking at the implications um, of these different column headers or these different variables. And beyond just that, we're also thinking of what other variables can we generate from this existing one. A good one would be, again, water cuts. We have oil production, we have water production. We can generate our water cut that we can use to further assess the performance of our wells. That is something that we can generate and we can include. So also looking, so we are doing an extensive an extensive research on all these different variables. That will be our first and an important activity for this week. And by next week, I want to be sharing and I want to be asking questions about the data set, and I want to also get a response. So again, I want us to pay attention to this detail. You have a new data set that has been sent to you. The first step in before you go into do anything is you need to understand the domain of this data set. So, and that is where researching the column headers comes into play and the implications. You can use ChatGPT, you can use Gemini, you can do old school research, but you need to have an understanding of the domain where the data set is coming from. Our next activity is reviewing the Excel interface, particularly understanding cell references and the formula bar. What I mean by displaying the actual content of the formula bar and also with cell references. How does Excel reference individual cells? I said column and rows, but I want you to go into your own Excel and go and take note of these things. It's going to be it's very important that we have a good understanding of cell reference and formula bar before we move on to functions and formula in Excel. What's most important that we have that core understanding. So please just go back into Excel, play around with the interface, get familiar with the interface, look at the formatting options available to you, your font type, your font size, outline, fill colors, all of those things. Get familiar with your Excel interface. And then finally, as same as always, and it's going to be always for every week, we are going to be learning publicly. So we're also going to be making a post about what we've learned today on LinkedIn or whatever platform you choose. But LinkedIn is where I'm most active on, and I'm able to look at it and have a feel of what be able to understand from our discussions today. So, and just a friendly reminder that I said that for everybody that consistently completes the activities every week, again, we are documenting the links to our LinkedIn post in a document. So for us that did the assignment last week and posted, I hope you have a Word document that has a link to that post in that document. So for this week, in that same Word document, you're going to be including the new link of this new post along. So you can call that week 2, and then post your link, include your links to that post. The reason why I'm doing that is because there's going to be a prize for I think three for 3 random people that complete their weekly activities. I'm going to be offering a prize to 3 people that complete their weekly activities. So that I said we'll be rounding up 7:15. So we still have about wow, my time is incorrect. We still have like 2 more minutes before to take questions that you might have. So please let me know if you have any questions. Uh, any questions? One question. Okay. So I see. Okay, we have one question from Ibuko Anna. Okay, you can go ahead, please.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So I just wanted to like ask that because you mentioned that there may be like cases where your number, sorry, a number, maybe like a number one is in text form. So is I wanted to ask that if there's like a way to like identify that in Excel or we just I don't know, but I feel there should be another way to identify that instead of like checking the data type if it's in general or if it's in text. So that's what I just wanted to know.
Yeah, thank you very much. So definitely, like I mentioned, the format of your data set shows how can affect how it's displayed. Like for example, let me just quickly share my screen. Apologies, it might take beyond 15. Let me quickly share my screen. Uh, no, let me just entire screen. I want to share my entire screen. So let's come here. Let's come here. So if you come here now and put 1000, this is 1000. But if I change the format to just come here, data type, there should be, and this is not Excel, so but it should be similar. Let me see. The source link, format printer. Just come here then. Let me just come here and change this directly from here and say I want currency. So if you come here now, the content, if you look at the formula bar for the actual content, it's 1000. But because I formatted this as a currency, it is now showing as £1,000. So you see how changing the format type, the data format has changed how it looks. So in cases like this, just from looking at it, know that okay, this is formatted as a currency. So similar to do with text as well. I'm not sure if this will work, or um, let's see. Let's see. Okay, it works here. It worked in this case. I'm not sure if it was going to work. But typically from your let me see. Let me try something else to force this to be a text. How to force this? So intuitively, Excel is able to tell that this is a text, this should be a number. But let's see if I force it this way. Oh, Excel is, oh wait, oh I see. It's already been formatted as something. Let me come here and see this plus this. Oh, why is it giving me currency? Anyway, I'm not able to demo that at the moment. Excel keeps on being too smart for my liking. But typically, you're also able to affect the kind of operations that carry out on it. typically you won't be able to sum texts. You can only just concatenate texts. In our class for next week, we're discussing functions and formula. Probably go into more details in that. Oh, my battery is low. Probably go into more details on that. So we'll just circle back to that your question. Tomorrow in our next class on Saturday. Not tomorrow, sorry, on Saturday. So about your LinkedIn post on what you've learned today, just to have a good understanding of where you are at with your learning and what you've been able to pull out from our discussion today. Thank you very much for today. Have a good one, everybody. Take care.
Thank you very much, sir. You all can start leaving the call, please.